If you keep on hiding behind, I'm not ready, you'll never be ready. The most successful people in life aren't the ones who got it right the first time, the overnight successes. The people who succeed are the ones who fail. They're the ones who launch the imperfect product. They're the ones who ask for a promotion before they feel that they're ready. They start the business before they have all of the answers. And they pitch their ideas before they perfect the font and the branding colors on their presentation. They succeed not despite their failures. They succeed because they have learned to fail over and over again. You're listening to Give Yourself Some Leeway with me, your host, Eugene Lee. Over the last 5 years, through my burnout experience, podcasting, and coaching, I have learned a lot about burnout recovery as a high achiever. What to do, what not to do, and the common mistakes that many people, like myself, make along the way. This podcast is dedicated to help you break the burnout cycle, optimize your life for peak performance when you need it most, and rediscovering how to truly enjoy living again. That's the key to your growth and success. I want you to fail, and I want you to fail fast. I want you to eat, sleep, and breathe failure every day. How does that make you feel? The idea of failure every day for the rest of your life. Do you feel tension building up inside of you? Every day, I work with people who are paralyzed by this idea of perfectionism is everything. And they're crushed by this idea that failure crushes the very core of their being, the idea of failing. They have dreams and goals to transform their lives, but they get stuck in this comfort of, what if it's not the right time for me to start? What if it's not going to go my way? Maybe I'm just not ready yet. But here's the truth. You will never be ready. You will never be ready to start. The perfect moment doesn't exist. And that master plan that you're constantly refining to get the right strategy before you begin. Oh, I just want to get all of my what to say, all of my pennies in place, or all of my eggs in my basket before I begin. No, that's a complete myth. That's bogus. If you keep on hiding behind, I'm not ready, you'll never be ready. The most successful people in life aren't the ones who got it right the first time, the overnight successes. The people who succeed are the ones who fail. They're the ones who launch the imperfect product. They're the ones who ask for a promotion before they feel that they're ready. They start the business before they have all of the answers. And they pitch their ideas before they perfect the font and the branding colors on their presentation. They succeed not despite their failures. They succeed because they have learned to fail over and over again. Think about it. Would you rather spend a year planning the perfect move, only to find that your fundamental idea was completely wrong? And you spent a whole year ruminating on that. Or would you rather fail 3 times over the next 3 months? And each time you fail, you're getting closer to what you want to achieve. It's like, I always bring it back to the podcast. I didn't just wake up one morning and say, you know what, Eugene, I want to start a podcast today. Let's start a podcast and just produce the podcast and put out the first episode and see how it goes and whoop-de-doo, overnight success. No, I was ruminating on the podcast since about January 2022. And I was like, I really want to get started in this podcast, but I've got so many things that I need to put in place. And maybe I should put together 100 topic ideas before I start and put together 10 scripts, 10 drafts before I consider. And oh, I don't really have a name yet, or I don't really know what I should be talking about and what's acceptable for me to talk about, what I feel comfortable talking about. And maybe I'll wait until I have more time. Maybe I'll wait until the summertime and I might have more time to focus on. And all this time, all of these excuses on starting, just kept on postponing it. And when it came to about May of 2022, about 5 months in, and I had clarity on leeway and the ideas of how I wanted to start with leeway, which is very different to where it is today. And it was then I said, you know what, before the end of the summer, that's when I'll get started on the podcast. And I was putting ideas back and forward, and it wasn't until August. I was like, it's the end of the summer. I still haven't started this podcast that I keep on talking about. And I said, okay, by the end of this week, I'm making my first episode, at least my first episode, and publishing it. And that week, through a lot of trial and error, it was literally just me holding up my phone and uh like pausing every 2 seconds, and every time I had a filler word like an or an or stammered or anything, because and I was recording from inside my car, just sitting in the driver's seat, which at the time I called my car office because it was the best acoustics that I could find. And I was just sitting there and recording, and I might record 30 seconds and then delete, and then keep on going back and over, trying to get the perfect and writing out every word so that I would stop stumbling, or I might not say the wrong thing, or I don't want to offend people, and trying to be very defensive, even though it was very raw for me to try and bring those feelings together to document my experience of burnout at the time. But the important thing was, yes, it was shaky, audio wasn't great, and it was not the optimal podcast episode, but it was a starting point. It gave me a metric that I could use to improve. Your first attempt is probably going to be your worst attempt. That's how hard you're going to fail. But it's also your first success on that journey that you have. It's no longer an idea ruminating in your head. You have a tangible product of your effort, and you can only improve from there. As long as you learn to adapt what you failed at, reiterate, and try again. So again, the math of this is very simple. The quicker you fail, the quicker you will learn. The quicker you learn, the quicker you can adapt. And the quicker that you can adapt, the quicker you will reach success. A lot of people do the same thing where they keep on failing without learning. And they just keep on making the same mistakes because their ego gets in the way of them accepting that they've failed, and say, no, I'm just going to keep on trying the same thing over and over again, no matter how much I fail. But you need to learn to adapt and learn from your mistakes and be like, okay, that didn't work. Why didn't it work? What else can I try that could possibly work? From analyzing the metrics and the data, what can I do going forward that might give a better outcome? And that's how you learn to succeed over time. The thing that holds us back the most, especially as a high achiever, are these limiting beliefs. They're like padded cells. They're trying to keep you safe. And yes, they served you at some point in your life. A lot of them come from childhood. They served you to help keep you safe. They offered psychological safety, but they also keep you small. And now, those limiting beliefs are no longer serving you as an adult. They are holding you back because they think they're keeping you safe from risks and threats outside. Where you're feeling misalignment is your body is trying to grow, and these beliefs are holding you back. And that discomfort is what's causing you to burn out. It's what's causing you to feel misaligned with the work that you do. If you're feeling that this analysis paralysis is setting in whenever you want to make a decision, it's stemming from these limiting beliefs. This sense of mediocrity. It offers comfort, but it holds you back in so many from so many opportunities in your life. And I can try to drill this into you, but if you're not open to accepting that, you need to learn how to fail hard, and how to fail fast. learn from those mistakes, and then grow. You adapt, you grow, and you try again, and probably fail again. So here's my challenge to you. And it's a challenge because your limiting beliefs are going to try and everything in their power to stop you from doing this. The challenge may look simple, but it's not easy. Your behaviors are going to do everything in their power to stop you from taking action. So, what I want you to do is pick one thing that you've been postponing for a long time. It could be something that you've been ruminating on for the past 6 months or 2 years or 10 years. Something that you said, oh, I'll start that someday. Now, I want you to pick that and give a ridiculously short deadline. So I want you to pick that something that you've been ruminating on for the past 6 months or a year and say, I'm going to finish my first draft next week. I'm going to give myself 7 days. I'm going to give myself until the end of this week to finish that. Okay? Now you've picked a solid deadline and you're going to commit to that. Because if you don't commit to these things or if you brush them off, then your body recognizes like, oh, you don't stick to your commitments. Okay, so you're never going to take anything seriously. As soon as you start taking your commitment seriously, switch goes off in your brain to say like, oh, you're committed to this. This is something that you take seriously. So I'm going to start making decisions to make sure that whatever comes up, this is something that you take seriously. This is something that you're disciplined about. And we're going to prioritize that. Your body recognizes these signals. So you're picking that one thing. You're making a deadline of, by the end of this week, I am going to complete this. And you execute this with the understanding that failure is not just possible, it's highly probable. It's probably imminent failure you're looking at. You're not going to have this perfect by the end of the week, but you're going to have the first draft. You're going to have the first attempt. And that's a hell of a lot more than you've had for the past 6 months. You have that first draft at the end of this week, and you evaluate, okay, what worked and what didn't work. And then for next week, you're doing it again. You're giving yourself another 7 days to have a second draft, a second attempt at that. And you're going to try again. I want by 2 weeks' time, you know what? I want 3 attempts. I want by the end of November, you've given 3 attempts at this one thing you have been ruminating on for the past 6 months or a year or even longer. And you're going to have 3 failures and 3 attempts at how you want to improve on this one thing. Pick the one thing. What's the one thing I can do today that if I get this thing right, everything else is easier to do or completely unnecessary? There's always one thing that we've been putting off so long. And it's always just ruminating in the back of our heads. And we just keep on pushing it to the back of our minds, being like, oh, that's a problem for another day. But if it keeps on coming up, it's a recurring thought in the back of our heads. It's something of importance. It's something that you want to do, but you've been holding yourself back. If you're feeling overwhelmed, exhausted, stuck in a rut, or running in circles all the time, trust me, I've been there too. The pursuit for peak performance, especially as a high achiever, is not about pushing harder all the time. It's about learning to work smarter, find balance, and reignite that spark that got you started in the first place. That's why I developed the Burnout Recovery Blueprint. Join me for 12 weeks to overcome your burnout. Let's break the burnout cycle and restore your vitality. Develop sustainable habits proven for peak performance when you need it most. Rediscover the meaning and purpose in the work that you do. And boost your productivity and impact without sacrificing your health. If you're ready to invest in your personal growth and success, let's break the burnout cycle together. Let's work together. Let's have that call. The link is in the show notes. Until next week, take care.